Welcome, welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. And now a man who only puts the edible and incredible with his cooking, a man who needs neither THC or an introduction. How you doing today, my one black friend?
I'm okay. That sounds familiar. I think I told you wrong and we used that already.
Maybe, maybe it
How are you, Pocket Locker?
could be a possibility. I'm good.
Yes.
It's good to see people in the chat. Radical Punk is here. Ember's here.
Yes. Thank
PC,
you all for
Pragmatic
joining us.
Crystal, Jake is here. Ryan's here. Good to see everyone. Ember and I were hanging out last week in the at the Ark Encounter. Well,
Really?
the Ark Encounter protest, I should say. This is not
Oh,
the Ark Encounter. We were protesting the Ark Encounter. We weren't there to visit the Ark Encounter.
okay.
But I left my bag in Ember's car, and poor Ember tried to leave early, and then Ember had to backtrack because I had all my stuff. I forgot that I rode up there with Ember, but it was amazing getting to meet Ember, and we stayed in the same house. So yeah, it was good times. We met a lot of cool people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Lots of hugs. Lots of hugs. It was awesome.
How was
Um,
the how did the protest go and
the
what was it
protest was
specifically
great.
over?
It was. I guess they do this every year. This year was the first time Joe, the Kentucky atheist, organized it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it went really well. We gave there were like speeches, um, and then I guess people walked up there, but all the speeches were really great. I don't know, there's so many people there. It's like me. I think Ember and I were first actually, and then there's a lot of people. Godless Granny was there. Uh, I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting the guy's name that PC. What's your guy's name? Oh my god, I can't think of his name. Um, Godless Granny was there. SR was there. Godless Engineer was there. Kelly was there. Um, there was a lot of people there actually. The Apostate, Nancy from the Apostate Sisters was there. Um, and I can't think of freaking.
Did you get video footage or it didn't come to mind
Yeah,
to do
there's a
so?
video footage. Oh, hey, there the Apostate Sisters go. Yeah, and then I can't. I'm blanking on somebody's channel has it uploaded. But I forget. Mandisa Thomas was there.
Hmm.
Dade Murphy, that's the name I can't freaking think of. Captive Desk, Dave was there. Austin Sims was there. Uh, Robin was there. I spent most of my time. Robin didn't speak, but I spent most of my time hanging out with Robin. And
Hmm.
Purple rhymes with orange, and uh, Sinister Porpoise. Of course, Joe organized everything. Joe did
Hmm.
a fantastic job. Yeah, Kelly was there. I mentioned Kelly. Uh, yeah. Purple Rhymes with Orange, Sinister Porpoise, who we stayed with. We had a great time. Great
Oh, that's
time.
good.
Oh, the other Kelly was there with Mandisa. Yeah, sorry, there was like 3 or 4 Kellys. It became a whole meme. Yeah, GE. Who's KC? Oh, I'm missing.
Casey is Godless Engineer's wife.
Oh yeah. Casey was there with Godless Engineer, correct? Yeah, we got to meet a lot of spouses as well. Joe brought his family. Apostate sister brought her husband. Yeah, it was crazy. I need to go to more in-person events. I think NanoCon, is that right? Is coming up soon. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to that, but I need to try to make it to at least one event a year. That would be the ideal. Going so many years without meeting people and then seeing what a difference it made to meet people, I definitely feel like I should be trying to go to something at least every year. Well, look, apostate sisters, y'all, it's two of y'all. So one went to the protest, one's going to NanoCon. So y'all could kind of split duty like that.
Mix it up.
Yeah, and I didn't get to spend enough time with SR because I had to go meet Ember. And also there was a guy there who used to work at the ARC protest. I need to link up with him. And then also,
you used to work at the protest or the ARC?
Sorry, I used to work at the ARC. Okay. That was at the protest. And then there was one of the cops that got called used to work at the ARC too. And he said they fired him from working at the ARC because he wasn't like hostile enough towards gay people. That was a crazy story. Yeah,
truly a difficult to answer.
Apparently there was a moment. Well, apparently there was like a gay group at the ARC, and the employees were being really mean to them and like hurling slurs at them, and he told them to stop. And then they asked him, like when he got called to the office or whatever, because I guess telling people to stop using slurs is a thing you get called to the office where you got to go speak to management.
Well, clearly the HR didn't talk to a lawyer and find out like you do realize they could sue the crap out of you.
No, I'm not there. Not there. Not
in Kentucky.
Yeah, no, they're protected because you're supposed to sign a statement of faith. So yeah, he said he didn't have a problem with gay people, and apparently they fired him.
That's not my issue. The gay people probably could make a good case that this is some sort of a violation of their civil rights in a way by going to the ARC encounter. The gay people probably didn't sign something that says somebody could berate them and degrade them.
Ember said Mark Alsip was an AIG guy, but there is a different this guy's name was Seth, I think his name was, and then the cop, I don't know if Mark Alsip is the cop. I didn't know who the cop. I didn't get to talk to the cop. Joe talked to the cop. I'm relaying secondhand information. But yeah, there is a link to the protest. PC dropped the link. Thanks so much, PC. It's on the Daily Atheist Morning Show channel, and I think that has, it has all the. It's the raw recording. Yeah, so it's got all the speeches. It's just under 2 hours. Yeah, it's really cool. Y'all gotta check out the speeches. Obviously, I gave a speech, but everybody's speech was really good. They were all really different, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's worth it for godless grannies alone. I'm gonna just put it to you like that.
Okay.
It's worth it just to see godless granny speech alone. It's crazy. Yeah, fun fact, you can't sue for civil rights violations if the lawyers all work for the organization doing the violations. Yeah, plus it's just, it's religion. Like you're apparently you're like allowed, because I mean their statement of faith that they make you sign is vile. So if they get away with making people basically sign, that's what I think, that's why they fired him, right? Like it's like, no, you signed a document like very much committed to being anti anything LGBTQ. So they not only were they not worried about getting sued, they were far more concerned with getting rid of this employee who thinks it's okay to
Why?
not harass gay people.
How are
Like,
you?
that's
How
where
are
they
you
were at.
How are you justified in having a higher standard of your conduct? How?
I don't know.
It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And Ken Ham ought to be embarrassed that's promoted in his organization. I don't know that he's a part of that directive, but
He is. He's not
okay.
embarrassed. That's who Ken Ham is. None of these
Well,
are good. These are not good people.
I don't remember. I mean, I've read the Bible. I don't remember Jesus slamming gay people for loving somebody, and he didn't even criticize King David for being naked with Jonathan in the field kissing. So I don't know. Maybe Jesus didn't read the Bible. I'm assuming he knew some of it,
Oh,
but
I think
you
Jesus
know,
was a homophobe.
maybe
Absolutely.
I don't know. But
Absolutely.
he's
Because well,
walking around with 12 guys.
no, he's supposed to know all the law, but he said, not one jot or tittle of the law should be broken, and he knew what those laws were. He should have specified. No, absolutely, this jot and this tittle of the law need to be broken.
Well,
So
if
I don't.
you continue to read the Bible, they started walking back all sorts of prohibitions. When the Gentiles started sliding into Christianity, yeah, you can eat whatever you want.
And there you go. I
You
think
can, yeah,
that's what it is. Even now,
yeah,
they always soften, but it's always marketing.
yeah.
Uh,
Jesus, we can have bacon now.
Thanks for
Yes, and what's
the
bacon?
compliments on my speech. I really appreciate it. I put I put a lot of time into my speech, so I appreciate that. Yeah, sorry about the bot. It just has a automatic cutoff. All right, gang, let's go ahead and jump into this video. Y'all know us, we mess around and never get to it. So this comes from Chad. It's called Megachurches or Megacringe. My only real lead up to this is I think megachurches are more common than people realize. Its definition is usually something like any church that has over 2,000 members. They are usually Protestant and evangelical. But I think there are mega churches throughout our community. And the question of the day is, have you ever been to one? I have been to one. I think my mom's church, former church, classifies as a mega church, which is kind of interesting because she's been in everything from small house basement churches when churches don't even have buildings, which is something Sumami's not familiar with. Sumami, you don't realize, oh my goodness. I don't know if Sumami's here, but that's a very common thing, let's just say, to church
Basement churches.
basements. Yeah, basement churches might be more common than mega churches. But both are everywhere.
There are a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them.
But yeah, cheers, gang. Mode, all that good stuff, and we'll let her get rolling here.
Mega church or mega cringe or mega mind. Growing up, my family always went to church. We went to tiny Baptist churches that had more wordless candies than people. Sometimes we went to bigger churches that had Starbucks in the lobby. And one time we even went to a church that was inside an old subway building. I don't know how the subway went out of business. All you need to feed thousands of people is like 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. All that to say, I'm pretty familiar with the many variations of churches. But the one kind I haven't been to is a mega church. But Chad, what is a mega church? You know what a mega church is already. I know, but tell us anyway. A church qualifies as a mega church if it brings in a congregation of 2,000 people or more every week, which might not sound like a lot because we're so used to seeing huge numbers on the internet, like how Mr. Beast has 400 million subscribers. But thanks to this Mr. Beast video, we know that a congregation of 2,000 people would look like this. 2,000 contestants! And thanks to this Mr. Beast video.
Okay, just another little caveat. All right, so 2,000 people, y'all. It's not. I just want to say, like, for those of you that live internationally, y'all get a pass. If y'all don't quite understand the ubiquitousness of mega churches in America, you can be forgiven. I got a feeling y'all are starting to notice mega churches at home as well, because I think mega churches are definitely an international phenomenon. But if you are in America, you know what it is like to ride up and down that interstate, and it's just like church Jesus
church,
billboard church,
after
Jesus
church.
billboard church. And also, y'all, we got to think about the churches that be rotating. You know what I'm saying? When you go in there, it might only be like 1,000 people or 1,500 people there, but you got to remember they do, like, they did the Saturday service, they did the morning service, they're gonna do the afternoon service, they got the Spanish service. So yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of mega churches. But then also when we start to talk about the issues with mega churches, it's an even bigger problem, because mega church is the ambition even of a smaller church, right? I hate to say it, but churches, y'all, maybe that's why we're like this, but churches are even more focused on growth than fucking YouTube creators, y'all. It's like, it's crazy, but there is a group of people who talks even more about their numbers and how many butts they have in seats and how much money they're bringing in than YouTubers, and it is pastors. Okay, so the things you see the mega churches doing, it's like a problem too, because even the smaller churches is like, that's what they're trying to get to, right? So they're trying to do the same thing so they can head down the same path. And then it gets all mixed in with the gospel of prosperity to the point where it's kind of like, if your church is not growing and you're not putting those butts in seats and you're like a broke pastor, are you like really anointed? It's really sad, because that's kind of how I feel about my grandfather. Like, he's one of them like old school preachers that really just like shepherded his congregation, and the church the pastor of used to be like a super poppin' church, but like it kind of died out because it just got older and they're like super Pentecostal. But it feels like he's the sucker. It feels like pastors like that, the true believers willing to shepherd a small congregation, nah, you're not doing it right. Like, pastors
they
getting
just
paid.
don't grow. They don't grow the same. Yeah, it's funny because I think the needs change, and some people don't know how to address the changing needs, and so the size of the congregation shrinks down.
And the denominations, right? It's like, you know, Pentecostalism was hot back in the day, but you know, as society progressed and you know things changed, that's not a, you know, their dogma didn't keep up with the time, so it's not attracting people the same way.
We know that an 11-year-old girl crying and pleading for her place in a competition to win $250,000 would look like this.
You are a kind person.
Your time here is over.
I kind of developed a curiosity for mega churches about a year ago when I found this clip.
Sky is cracked and Jesus Christ comes again and
This pastor was apparently trying to drive home the point that
you know, the pro wrestling fan in me is actually kind of jealous. Like, I don't know, we're going full Sky Rigs. We're the pastor's coming in WrestleMania 12 style, like Shawn Michaels,
flown by Foy style. Yeah.
Wow.
It's very interesting. I can see the pitch meeting. Stay with me now. I want to be attached to a harness and fly in now. Oh my gosh!
Too much money.
How many bills could they have paid for people?
Too much money.
Right? Could have fed a few people, a few dozen people, maybe. Oh,
Jesus will be coming again. Lucky.
Wow.
Lucky guy.
Sorry, hit the wrong button.
Man, I wish that was me. Which makes me wonder how many times he tried to tell this to the congregation before he resorted to this.
He will return, and it will be when you least expect it.
Okay, yeah, whatever,
sure.
We get it.
No, you don't get it. If you don't listen to me, I'm gonna turn pink.
Don't you mean red? Like with anger?
No, I mean I'm going to turn into famed singer-songwriter Pink.
But I started seeing a lot of videos similar to this one from an account called Pastors with Props that post some of the craziest over-the-top sermons that you ever did see.
Pastors with Props? I need this channel in my life. Sorry, pause. I just need to add this.
Next week on Hot Program. Pastors with Props.
It's an Instagram channel. I hate to promote Christianity, but we gotta.
Is it Christianity though?
This one on you.
Is that part?
No, it's probably maybe it's
Christianity?
not. No, I don't know.
Again, I think Jesus.
They might be on our team.
I think Jesus would have to grouse at some of this. Like, wait, I didn't do any of this.
But he wasn't afraid of a good prop, though. He had the wine and the fig tree, and you know he was.
But he
for his
typically,
time, you know,
he probably almost never had a mega church size audience. Literally almost never.
No, other than like the
maybe Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Plain. That's it. Even at his crucifixion, there probably weren't 2,000 people there. He probably was like, well, crowd's kind of light tonight, but given the circumstances,
yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, no, it's a good. You know, he rarely had that type of audience for sure.
Yeah.
What? They in a whole Back to the Future? Wow.
You might be thinking, why would you possibly need 3 expensive-ass cars on stage in order to intro your sermon? And there's a very simple answer for that. You don't. You don't have to do that. It's fine if you don't do that. Actually, there was a pretty good reason for this. He wanted to be Marty McFly. Guys, he has to go back in time and stop the crucifixion, so he doesn't have to come into work anymore. A lot of these sermons feel like they were created for reasons other than spreading the gospel. Some of these pastors seem to have realized that they can have whatever they want on stage as long as they find some kind of way to relate it to their sermon.
God, I thought you was doing something. How do I get out of? I'm your anchor.
Oh, brother.
Did you really need to spend probably tens of thousands of dollars on an ocean set with rain machines and an entire real boat just to say that God is your anchor? That's one of the least
But see, that's the problem too. It's like Christians be sitting up in there. First off, okay, let me keep it real with y'all. You got to do all of this. I'm sorry. People don't understand. Listen. I'm gonna tell y'all a little something you probably didn't realize. Jesus isn't real. And I don't know if anybody told you, but there is no God. All right. So what you have instead, right, is a competition. There's a reason it's great to be the drummer in church. Why is it great to be the drummer in church? Well, I'm sorry. If you're good. Why? Because churches love their drummers. Why do churches love their drummers? Because people are there for the show, goddammit. People are there for the show. And so it is a competition, especially if you are trying to be on that mega church level, especially if there are other churches in the area that are trying to be on that mega church level. It's a show. And so that's why they do all this. And this is how you know you're at a mega church, when they spend literally like hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars on AV equipment. Oh my goodness, y'all. I've been to churches with the valet parking and the orchestra and the cameras that probably each cost over $100,000. Y'all don't even know. I can't even tell y'all know they make cameras that are like more than $250,000, and some of these churches be having them cameras, y'all, and then they pay. It's crazy, but that's why they do it. It's a show and it's a competition, and it's sad that that's where we're at. But it's also like, I don't know why Christians don't realize what's happening to them. It's like, yeah, you could feed a lot of people with that. You could buy a lot of backpacks and fill them with a lot of school supplies, or pay for a lot of people's medical treatment for like kids with cancer or some other thing Christians pretend to care about, but they don't and they won't. And honestly, I'm kind of done with the whole mask and act of it all. The truth is, they're not great. They're not good people, and they don't actually care about helping the community. It's this thing that people don't realize. Like, most of these people, y'all, they only even give money to their churches, and then most of that money goes back into the churches. But they talk to you about putting money in the church as though like they're doing the most charitable work ever. And I always said, like, donating to your church is not charity. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. So yeah, it's quite amusing to me now, but it's sad that that's what this is all about. It's all about who's got the best show on Sunday morning, because the church with the best show is going to be the church that has the most people.
It's going to be filling up the seats, yeah.
Oh, but my favorite, y'all, we got to cover this sort of like anti-megachurch, anti-charismatic crowd. I love them people. I always say those are the people who are trying to play Christianity on hard mode. The real, you know, like aesthetic ones, the ones that are like or ascetic, maybe I should say instead. It's the aesthetic of aesthetic, like it's but you know, they're the ones. No, we don't do music, we don't sing, we're not gonna do that. No, we just do like the chants, and we don't do the charismatic preaching.
They keep it humble.
They keep it boring, y'all. Let's be honest. They keep it boring, and they act like keeping it boring is somehow like elevation. Like it makes you a real one. It means you're really down to be here and reflect on the fact that Jesus died for you and he bled all over Calvary. Okay, and that's what's really important. And you don't need an orchestra to distract you, and some pastor in a speedboat on the stage, or zip lining in from the choir loft. Like you don't need that. Okay, you just need the hardcore truth of Jesus bled out for you after the nails. There were so many nails. They drove the nails into all of his limbs, and it went into the wood, and then they speared him. They speared him, y'all. And then he was dead. Sorry, I'm just trying to dramatize the violence. God,
they will come upon clouds, and they will meet him in the air. Okay, so maybe ziplining from the choir loft
it's
a prelude.
That's how you meet him in the sky.
Like, I want to know what it's like to embrace that success. Sadly, I learned from Rocco Errico that the expression in the Bible to come in the clouds in Aramaic can mean to succeed in a mission. So maybe that's something that even in its own time was misinterpreted by other believers to be some sort of event where Jesus would come riding on a cloud, when most of those people had never experienced a cloud other than seeing it in the sky and getting rained on. They hadn't stood on a high place to where when the cloud comes rolling in, you realize this is just moisture. It's not solid. You can't ride on the cloud.
Yes,
it's really simple. But as long as it's up there, you can fantasize about what it can do. It may appear like a fully solid object and not just trillions of water droplets.
But if you've flown through them on many occasions, you sort of realize that wasn't gonna, that wouldn't have worked out.
It's less dense than cotton candy itself. I've mentioned this on Hot Program before. When I flew from Fort Wayne, Indiana to Los Angeles, this was my first flight I ever took. I was on the airplane and we broke through the clouds, and I looked around out my window. I told the travel agent I had to have a window seat, and I looked out the window and I said, I wonder where heaven is. College educated, fairly smart guy, loved science, and yet I was saying that, right? Back then, 1,000 years ago, I believed wholeheartedly in Jesus, and I still had that. I think it was fairly naive as I look back. What a very naive, innocent, sweet thing to say. And it couldn't have been more wrong-headed at the same time.
Cameras shouldn't cost that much, but they do actually. A lot of the cameras you see in major television productions actually cost that much, and I've known some people who've actually owned them as just investments. I knew a guy that used to help my dad with a lot of video work and editing, but he also worked on big shows you've heard of, like I don't know, like all those motorcycle shows on
Like
American
Chopper.
Chopper or whatever. Yeah, he
Yeah.
worked on those shows, and he had a $300,000 camera because that's what they wanted for those type of shows. So but yeah, churches, it's crazy. So PC put up some numbers, and they're really interesting to think about. Kenneth Copeland, Joel Osteen, TD Jakes, some of the richest pastors. What's funny about this is it does kind of show you some crazy things. So TD Jakes, you could just forget about him. Diddy kind of ruined him. TD Jakes is done. He stepped down. He's no longer in charge of his ministry. The scandals finally caught up to him. But it's interesting that we think of Joel Osteen as being so huge. But the fact that Kenneth Copeland is raking in so much more shows you where Americans are at, which is that most people don't actually do the nice, friendly, fake, progressive type of Jesus is love. Like, no, actually the hardcore Christo-fascist conservative monsters are actually the ones at that next level. It was a similar thing we noticed with like the Ark encounter, like Ken Hovind, for instance. Like, people used to think he was like a big deal. He's nowhere near the level of someone like Ken Ham. Like, Ken Ham is on like a whole, that Ark encounter has probably got over 100 million sunk into it. Ken Ho will never see them kind of numbers. So it's just a little bit of a wake-up call for people who think that Christianity is like the super warm, friendly version. That is way less popular than the MAGA Christo-fascist hate cult version.
Groundbreaking messages in the gospel. This clip of me picking a wedgie out of my ass. Get money.
I think it was. It's okay. I think it was Paula Gia that said he thought Ken Ham was the fourth person in the Trinity. I think it was Paula Gia that said that, and we'll put if it was by whoever said it. That's it, Paca.
They act like they are.
I thought you was doing something. How do I get out of? I'm your anchor.
Oh, brother.
Did you really need to
so
spend
cringe.
probably tens of thousands of dollars on an ocean set with rain machines and an entire real boat just to say that God is your anchor? That's one of the least groundbreaking messages in the gospel. Or water breaking, because the anchor goes through. I don't know if they get to personally keep the items they use on stage, and if this is some kind of way to get things they already wanted while getting to write it off as a church expense, but it's kind of really hard to think it's not.
We're all going on a journey.
All right, we're gonna have this talk, y'all. Yes, it is. Okay, number one, yes, a lot of times it's a way for them to get that shit that they needed. A new drill, a new boat, whatever it is. Other times it's a giveaway. Pastors do prop giveaways a lot of times. Okay, so that's like, I've seen them do stuff where like they give their faithful keyboard player a car. Maybe you sent me a video and they gave the keyboard player a car. They gave the keyboard player a car, and the keyboard player starts weeping, plays a solo. Now, really just means the pastor or deacon or whoever is tired of picking up said keyboard player. This is a great way to run the grift on the rest of the congregation about how Jesus will bless you if you serve faithfully and all of this stuff. And at the same time, they just get to write off the fucking car. Okay, so sometimes it's for the minister themselves, sometimes it's part of the giveaway program. Okay, and then other times, y'all, we got to talk about these pastoral field trips. This is when, for the sake of the sermon, the pastor, I want to give you a good example. Okay, so a real life example of a pastoral field trip is Christmas sermon. Pastor is talking about their trip to a farm, basically. And when they're on the trip to the farm, they see how the birth of a new baby lamb is so precious, and how the farmer treats the baby lamb special and puts it in the wrap and the cloth, and it lays in a special place, and they got to make sure nothing happens to it. And then it just turns into some whole thing about how Jesus is the Lamb of God. Okay. I have seen so many pastors give these sermons. It's called a pastoral field trip, because they were not just randomly on this fucking trip and then they just got a sermon idea. No, they had a sermon idea and then they went on some field trip so that they could tell the story. It's ridiculous. But notice then when you start to hear us in speeches, you're gonna be like, oh, that's one of them pastoral field trips Jay was talking about, where a pastor acts like it was just as the coincidence that this trip he was on just happens to coincide with his sermon. No. We on to y'all. We know about these pastoral field trips, okay? We caught you. We're hip to the game.
Walking through life. When it comes to Jesus, what direction are you headed?
I don't know, but I know what direction you're heading.
This is so much cringier than I thought.
None.
What is
You're
that?
not going anywhere.
See, I can't see. My screen cuts it off.
See,
I'm missing out.
You're messing up. You
missing
gotta
out.
get on your phone or something. He's walking on a treadmill. There might be other people who are in listener land. You know, some of y'all, not some of y'all, y'all really playing video games, doing other things. Y'all not really here watching us. But we appreciate the view. You're great people. Don't worry about it. Okay. He was walking on a treadmill, which I think is a perfect metaphor for walking with Jesus. Okay. You walk with Jesus, you put a lot of work into it. You might burn a lot of calories. It really feels like you're doing a whole lot, but you are really not going anywhere. The visual to me is perfect.
Allegedly, that he didn't just see the TikTok trend of people buying these under-desk treadmills and wanted one for himself, and then use this sermon as an excuse to buy it for the church. He's literally standing on a massive stage by himself. He could have just done this. You know, sometimes it feels like we're just walking through life. And then other times we're not getting enough steps in, so we need a compact treadmill for our home office. He literally walks to the treadmill to demonstrate walking. And you know what? He didn't even need to do that. We know what walking looks like. It's not like we were struggling to picture what he was talking about. You know, the other day I was thinking, while I was on the toilet, this is what that looks like, by the way. And I started thinking, you know, we're all just kind of farting our way through life. And this is what it would look like if this video was sponsored. This video is sponsored by Rocket Money. A few months ago, I realized I was paying for two separate subscriptions.
And you know what? It's not because we hate capitalism. It's not because we hate content creators out here making money. Because, you know, be a content creator. We're doing it because we're not monetized. Okay, it's not anti-capitalism. It's where's my capitalism? Okay, where's my sponsorship? Where's Rocket Money? Where's what are some of the other ones? What's the one with the news? You're supposed to Ground News. Where's Ground News and Magic Spoon and
General
Helms
Motors
and what's the ones with the razors and you blade yourself with
I don't know, something
Manscaped. There you go. We talk about stuff that what about a woman's scape? Let's get some smaller, some new products in there. I don't know. Actually, y'all, my channel's been eligible for monetization for like a hot minute, and YouTube literally like keeps sending me email. Like they just email me like every other day, and I just haven't turned it on. I might be the problem. Maybe.
Motorcycle, more things you could incorporate into a sermon. It couldn't be that reason. Obviously, we have Marty McFly, we have the boat, but we also have a full stage of motorcycles, which might seem like a flashy, pointless expense, but they're actually part of the choir. You should hear him sing. They've got crazy pipes. And then we have this.
Man, that was amazing. What's that? Woohoo! I did double loops. I did not expect a double loop.
I mean, I guess this is fine as long as he's got some kind of way to tie it back into the
They built a roller coaster to fake being on a roller coaster. It's like it's not even actually a roller coaster. So then they have a fake story about being on a roller coaster, but they bought the real like end of the roller coaster just to sell the story of being on a roller coaster that didn't actually happen. Too much money, y'all. Too much money. And this is such, I didn't even plan on this turning into a donating to your church is not charity stream, but this is conveniently turned into a donating to your church is not charity stream. And this is why. This is like a perfect characterization of why. Now, most churches, it may not be going to a roller coaster. It might just be going to like church salaries, the building fund, a new guitar pedal, or whatever other useless thing for the show that doesn't actually help people in the real world. But it's nice to see it. If you're going to do it, let's see the people who overdo it. You know what I mean? These people know how to get down.
And it's not something obvious and dumb. Like, life is full of ups
and yes, I would play drums for this church. Churches, this is the churches but you know what? I'm playing. Here's another problem with these churches. Let's get into it. Oh, see, now we're getting personal here. Okay, you think you want to play at a church like this because this is a church that can pay its musicians, and if it does pay its musicians, it probably pays them well relative to other churches. But, and here's the huge but, most of these churches don't pay their musicians. Most of these churches don't pay hardly anybody. It's crazy. They have all this money, and then literally they want everybody that literally does, oh my God, the work you have to put in for them, for their show that's going to make them money. No. You better have a servant heart. This is your opportunity to serve for the Lord. What do you mean it takes you 13 hours a week to do graphics? That is your service to Jesus, okay? Yes, you need to be here at 6:30 in the morning to set up the lighting rigs. How do you think the lighting rigs are going to set themselves up in the morning? Yes, you need to be here at 6:30, and you're going to have to be here till like 2 p.m. to take everything down afterwards. No, that is your opportunity I said opportunity to serve. So yes, it's crazy. It is like they are dangling all the money in your face, and then you see. No, I'm gonna go on a tangent.
You know what? Life is full of ups and downs.
Never mind. When I was going through these videos, this roller coaster just kept showing up.
There you go, Apostate Sisters. Or, you know what? Here, this is like a perfect little, somebody should just screenshot this right here. We got the comment at the bottom that says, house and feed people with all that money. And then we got the dude coming in this crazy suit on this fake roller coaster to lie about having been to a theme park, okay? He didn't even want to go on the pastoral field. He's like, I'm going to just make it up, okay? Y'all, can we at least tax the churches, y'all? If they got money for all of this and they're not gonna feed and house people, can we at least tax them? Can we at least tax them? Because we could use that money to feed and house people.
You can tax them on the concessions.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's my position.
Or on the props. You know, yeah, there's a very high tax on the.
That's money out. That's not money in. They start charging for admission of that roller coaster. My opinion is.
Oh, you're saying you have to tax all the money coming in? Yeah, you got to. I want to tax all the money. I just want to tax all. I want to tax the money coming in, the money they spend, salaries.
They do that to you now. Government does that to you now.
Thank you. That's how the rest of us have to live.
Yeah. It's. I don't think sales tax should be charged, but whatever.
Nah, yeah, I got you.
I broke my foot yesterday.
Oh my God, bro. He went around twice. Why does he need to go around twice? It's so awkward. This was longer than actual roller coaster rides. That went on for so long that by the time he got off, his name was Ed Old. I do like the theme song for this event, just being people singing the word of the thing on stage. Under the treadmill. man. Out of touch with the stars. We just fuck with the stars. Here's the roller coaster again at a different church. Except this time they have a curtain of sparks. Jesus loves a curtain
Do they
of
like
sparks.
send
and here
it?
it is again.
Do they
at a
send it around? Are they on tour with this?
See,
thing?
that's it. So several pastors go in on buying it, and then they rent it to the churches. That's a great way of making money. You just rent it to a church. You pay yourself, and you might even pay a pastor a commission for renting it. So the church pays for it. Pastor gets a kickback. It's owned by other pastors, so they get paid. And you just keep sending this thing around because it's a great way for them to line their pockets. And then you rent me something for my church, and then you give me a kickback, and you keep money for yourself. It's just a fantastic way for making money.
Oh my goodness! I need to start selling stuff to churches. I've been thinking about life all wrong. All wrong.
You have pocket locker, repent.
Oh my goodness.
Embrace capitalism. It's lovely.
different church.
Come on, somebody make some noise! Come on, everybody, give it up for Jesus today.
This prop is even crazier to me because there's barely an attempt to hide the fact that this has nothing to do with preaching. This is just a way for them to make a grand entrance like they're headliners at a concert. He does give this line to try and tie it back in though.
It's amazing to have a creative God who has creative stuff going on, and when the world is in chaos and they're all flipping upside down, we're just having a good time.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Please be seated. You know, it's great to have a creative God who makes creative things like roller coasters. And next week, he's gonna create me a porch. My favorite part though is when the crowd doesn't cheer enough for their extravagant entrance and he calls them out for it.
What? Come on, you can do better than that.
We know that a lot of you in the crowd today can't afford to take your families to Disney World, so we decided to spend thousands of dollars recreating one on stage to right in front of your impoverished faces.
Exactly.
Now clap.
Exactly.
Clap louder.
Clap, give it up.
I tried to
Give it
look
up.
into the church that had this.
But
roller
pastors love a good. You can do better than that. You know, that's the showmanship, and they also recognize that their people are just in the routine. You know, this is not their second or fourth or fifth Sunday. You know what I mean? They've been churning these out every Sunday for years. So he recognizes when he comes in and they're just kind of a little. Oh, there wasn't even any new songs in the worship set. You know, you can do better than. All right, Pastor, we're here. All right, we're here. You know, it's like wake up.
But it turns out this is one big church group conglomerate with a bunch of locations in 3 different states. So I assume they're shipping this one roller coaster around, which I'm sure is.
All right. So good call there. All right, but here's the other thing that's a good thing for people to think about with that. A lot of them are going this way. I would even say stop listening to philosophy bros, because in a sense, denominationalism is dead. And what I mean by that is the denominations are still around, and they're still, you know, big organizations with lots of churches in them or whatever. But more and more churches are going the way of what I call it corporate Christianity. I call it corporate churches. And so they might loosely be affiliated with a denomination. And that's mostly just so people have some sort of doctrinal branding, you know, so they'll, you know, just so you understand the things that they believe or loosely Baptist or whatever, but they're in their own independent organizations, and they're basically like becoming, you know, franchised basically, right? So they're trying to, the goal is to pop up everywhere, and so it's not really competitions between denominations anymore. It's competition between literally corporations. And they have different branding. So like the church I played at was theirs was all about major college campus contacts, because their whole business model was like winning you for Jesus while you were in college. That way, when you graduated, you would be like dedicated to church planting. And so their model was to set up local churches in the towns of major college campuses, and then for that church to support a college ministry on campus called the Salt Company. So all of the college, and that was kind of their little wrinkle that was kind of slick, was like it was actually the college ministries that all had the same name. You could find salt companies all over the country, different parts of the world.
Crusade for Christ.
But the local church, but the local church in supporting it will be different in each place. But that's how lots of churches are now. They start somewhere, they grow, and then they decide to branch out either into multiple campuses in the case of churches that really intend to stay rooted in where they're at, or in like literal franchising. So it's just another level to think about, that mega church that you see might actually just be one part of a much larger organization that can have many churches in it, or is in the process of building many churches. So yeah, it's kind of like, I think these type of conversations, while it's kind of fun to point and laugh, I hope it is helping people realize that, like, we have a serious problem with these churches, and we got to kind of realize what we're up against, right? And it isn't that local mom and pop shop anymore. It's a big company, and even what you and I see in our communities is just one part of a whole big problem, a whole big mess we have on our hands with these churches.
It's easy to do since it's so tiny and small and skinny and light. I also tried to find out how much it would cost to make this thing, and found this ride manufacturing company saying that a small roller coaster can cost up to $50,000. What the fuck do you mean? I don't really care if it got more than one use by being shipped to their other churches. There was no need for it to exist in the first place.
At all.
$50,000 could have helped everyone in your congregation that couldn't afford rent that month. Or a car. You could have bought a whole
What is this
in your
stat
congregation
here?
that couldn't.
It says 20% of renters reported being, quote, behind on their rent at some point in the last year. Yeah, it's tough.
Afford rent that month. Or a car. You could have bought a whole car for a family in your community that needed one. I don't care if you get more than one use out of something that's useless. Hey man, when you're done with the giant broken and also empty gumball machine, can I borrow it? Ah man, I would, but I actually loaned it to Paul. What? I'm sorry. Why? Yeah, and I'm not gonna be done with it for a while. But Paul, I need it to... Well, too bad, because I'm using it for... Bitch. Alright, that's it.
Oh yeah? What are you gonna do?
Guys, please, don't
bring it. Oh, when I catch you,
don't run it in place at each other, guys. I wish I could say we were done talking about mega churches bringing vehicles on stage, but we're not even close to that. I haven't even talked about this yet.
Hey, sir. How can we make evangelical Christianity worse? Make it corporate. Exactly. The WWE of all of this. As an avid pro wrestling fan, a man who literally spent my entire day yesterday trapped in bed watching wrestling from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep. This is too pro wrestling even for me. I don't what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We're doing Monster Jam with the tank, with the I can't.
Rocket Locker.
Why?
It's not merely the power of the Holy Spirit.
Oh no, he has
it's the power of an 8-ton tank.
He has
rolling through. Feel the awesome power and torque and energy. See, the tank, the cars symbolize crushing Satan's demons, and the tank is the power of the Almighty God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit.
He's got the gun too. He's got the little submachine gun there.
The turret of
righteousness. In his hand. Yeah, he's got actual like a mini machine gun. Yeah, he's got guns in both hands. All right.
what is this? Is
Holy
this some kind of
crap.
monster truck
Now,
thing?
now my hope is that he was, and this is not personal, shooting blanks. It's not a place for live
that
ammunition.
dude shoots a lot of blanks.
Assembly? No. This is a men's church event. Church. This is church. This is the annual Stronger Men's Conference hosted by James River Church, which has 16,000
We may have covered this conference. They may be the ones with the pole.
This is the craziest thing I've seen.
Yeah,
the
guy had
pole.
Why is there so
Yeah,
much
the sword
fire?
swallower.
Flames.
Yeah.
Was that Master Chief? Is that fucking Master
They're showing like Halo
conference has a-
characters and boxers. This is the other thing now. So, you know, because now Christian men, you know, they're doing a whole masculinity thing, and it's cringe. It's megachurch, mega cringe.
fantastic lineup of world-class speakers and a stronger warrior competition,
A
which as far as I
stronger
can tell
warrior
is similar to like
competition.
American Ninja Warrior, because you're not a good Christian unless you can scale up a fiberglass wall with your bare hands. Jesus said so. According to their website, their world-class speakers include superstar athletes like Harrison Butker. You know that guy who spoke at a college and told the women graduating that day that they should probably just have babies instead? You know the guy who definitely shouldn't speak in front of thousands of people? He probably shouldn't speak at all, ever. Also, according to their website,
Y'all, there's a thing. There's one of these conferences. It's like a Jesus wants you to be rich type tour thing, and it's got like Tim Tebow on it and stuff. Like it just came to Newark, and it is the same thing. It's like a bunch of really weird, clearly right wingers who they're just like going around selling people these crazy expensive seminars that are about how God wants to give you all the money your greedy heart desires. And so there's a lot of this going around. It's just a lot of this super cringe.
Jesus does want people to be rich. The Bible says so, but what he comments about that is to store up, the commentary is to store up treasures in heaven and not down here on earth. Right? So Jesus does want people to be rich. God wants people to be rich. That's how the system works.
It's called Life Surge. Oh, it's called Life Surge. This is what these people really do. Look, Life Surge. They're going all around. You got comedic thought leader Michael Jr., Kaylee McEnany, Jeff Foxworthy, Nick Vujicic, I don't know who that is, Tim Tebow, Craig Kroschel, Corey Robertson, and Willie Robertson. Oh, these are the Duck Dynasty people.
I think they're missing an apostrophe. It's Life's Urge.
And Paul and Hannah McClure from Bethel Music. A life-changing events where thousands of local Christians gather live to learn why and how to create and multiply financial resources for kingdom impact. Okay,
Definitely missing an apostrophe.
Life-changing. I know, I'm trying to put it together. Life-changing events where thousands of local Christians gather live to learn why. Gather live to learn why and how to create and multiply financial resources for kingdom impact. I just don't want y'all. When I put God wants to make you rich out there, I know it's always going to be somebody in the comments or the chat that wants to act like I'm exaggerating or whatever. So I wanted to show y'all.
Receipt.
Yeah, I wanted to show y'all the receipts. All right.
probably just have babies instead. You know, the guy who definitely shouldn't speak in front of thousands of people, he probably shouldn't speak at all ever. Also, according to their website, if you just scroll down here, you can actually register today. Register today. I mean, register today. 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 They have monster truck rallies, MMA fighting, Master Chief. I still don't know what that's doing here, but I'm sure this alone was thousands of dollars. They've got bull riding, and finally, they've got throwing football on stage. This conference is like what you would get if you handed millions of dollars to a bunch of 12-year-old boys. Essentially, they have 2 days of grossly
I was literally
absorbent-
thinking like 12-year-old boys, and that is honestly it. We joke, but it really does speak to the lack of development that these are grown people who haven't yet become an accepted being grown people. And we love us some games and we love us some fun and some boys will do things. That's all great, but this is all a bit much.
I'll tell you, Pocket Locker does not speak to a question that was raised when I was growing up, and that question was simply, what would Jesus do? This is not answering that question at all.
Well, you know, maybe their Jesus is just more fun than yours.
No, you know what? Pocket Locker, I say this uncritically. This could be an admission that they're failing. This sort of thing might be an admission that they're having a really rough time keeping butts in seats. People are finding better things to do. People aren't swallowing whole the biblical story, right? There's no firmament. There's surrounding the earth.
Right.
Jesus didn't walk on water. He didn't feed 5,000 people. He can't heal. Mark 16, chapter 16 through 25. Christians don't have magical healing powers. It would be awesome if they did. This could be an admission that, look, we have to get them any way we can because we know the message that we're preaching doesn't deliver on the promises it makes fully. But we do believe, they may say, we do believe that there are some moral lessons within the space of Christianity that are essential to society being better.
That
and
and
they
that
have
they
to go
know
to
where
this extreme.
that and that they know where their bread is buttered. That they don't appeal to anybody left of human. You know, they to them it is, oh, let's do, you know, monster truck rallies and shoot off guns and tanks and like it's just very interesting to me because I think people even outside the church, we just keep putting this humanistic face on religion, but they know where their bread is buttered. They know who to appeal to.
I think I'm guilty of that. I try to
know
put
who
the
their
humanistic
audience
face
is
on religion.
Yeah, we gotta.
I do that.
It's all right. It's we do it because they're so good at masking, but you know, this stuff is not it's not humanism, you know, and it's even for me like a challenge, like to progressive Christians. It's like, why do church things always look like CPAC? You know, that's a weird, you know, why does that keep happening? You know, it's
entertainment, throw a couple sermons in there somewhere, charge people $200 a pop, and then abracadabra, you've made $2 million of tax-free money. Allegedly. But maybe I'm being a little unfair. I mean, the whole point of this is to become better fathers, sons, friends, and husbands. And you can't put a price on that. Babe, I know you want me to be a better husband by like taking out the trash sometimes or maybe talking to our kids. But the only way for me to do that is to go to church and become a better man by watching a monster truck crush other smaller trucks. I saw this comment on the Tank clip, and it says, what if I told you thousands of salvations come from these conferences? It's great people share these clips, but what about the clips of all the men worshiping God together? Strange that you never see the best part shared, instead out of context snippets cut down to support a childish claim. And I think that's funny because the account that posted this clip didn't have a caption. There was no claim, it was just a clip of the conference. Hey, you can't show this clip of me picking a wedgie out of my ass in Walmart. This implies that I would pick a wedgie out of my ass in Walmart. I'm sure there is some amount of worship happening at these conferences. I would hope so, since that's supposed to be its entire point. But I think if it took being lured in by monster trucks and fire and sparks and MMA fighting and motocross competitions and tanks for you to find God, then you probably didn't want to find him that bad.
Yeah, and
makes a big noise, this God.
It's also hard cope, and there's something really, I would say, more even sinister going on with that here, which is like this person's being clearly defensive about how shallow these things are, but it's them. It's kind of like when we do the God is Jesus, Jesus is God the Father, and together they make a Holy Ghost. But God is not Jesus, Jesus is not God, and together they don't make a Holy Ghost. Now Christians will go, Jay, you're being unfair. Why you're trying to make us sound silly? Da da da. And I would recount, no, that's Christian doctrine. That's Christian dogma. And if you go look up those graphics that actually have that visualized, they get put out there by Christian organizations. This is how you guys explain your dogma to each other. So now when I see it and go, this is what you're putting out there, don't come at me with the
don't
smoke.
get mad at you about it.
Don't get mad at me. This is what you put out there. So these things are how they advertise. They don't advertise men sitting in a circle, studying the Bible, out on the lawn in quiet reflection with scripture, holding their hands in the air in complete surrender to Jesus. No, you advertise sword swallowing up and down a pole with the guns and tanks going over in the monster truck rally. So don't get mad at me now that I've called out your PR package for containing Halo in heavyweight boxing matches. I didn't put Halo in heavyweight boxing matches in your PR package. You did. Oh, so irritating.
Dear God, please. I can't focus. I need some white noise. Dear God, please help me find peace. I know all of this might seem like an excuse for guys to get out of the house for a weekend and watch sports, but the church does also have one for women. Except this one is boring. It looks like all they have is singing and speaking, and they're even holding Bibles here. That's weird. What's that about?
Weird.
I was gonna ask why the ladies don't need all that extra entertainment to find God too, but then I remembered how hard it is for husbands to find anything, and God's probably harder to find than a bottle of mustard behind the orange juice. So I've got to cut them some slack. Oh, also the women's conference is $230 per person instead of the $200 they charge per person at the Stronger Men's conference, which I think is good,
So it makes more
actually,
money.
because at least some taxes are being paid here, even if it's just the
ladies tax. That's crazy. That's the pink tax, right? Yeah. That sucks. But yeah, even the churches with it.
The pastor of this
alright.
church has also used his sermons to try and get people to vote against laws he doesn't like.
And if you live in the city of Springfield, we're asking you on April 7th to vote yes to the repeal of the sexual orientation and gender identity bill.
And his reasoning for this was homosexuality is a sin according to the Bible, and Christians should vote for repeal. But that's not what he was saying when his church.
And we're just never gonna get past this.
Has that minister come out yet?
No, so it's just I didn't even know this was in the video, but just subtle reminder that this is in fact the hate group. And for all of you that would like to say it's not, please argue with them about what's in the book, because I'm so sick of people telling me they're biblical Christians and then turning around and not seeing the problems with the Bible, people just need to leave. We need to tell people to leave, because you can't do this. There's no way around this. There's no way to Christian without the Bible, and there's no way to Bible without the problematic things that are in the Bible. So gonna be difficult.
Hired a male stripper to perform at the Stronger Men's Conference. I don't really see how male pole dancing will strengthen these husbands and fathers. I think the only strengthening happening here is probably in the pastor's pants. Anyway, moving on to a different megachurch.
What is that? Oh my goodness.
Just kidding. It's a Justin Timberlake concert. Gotcha, bitch. Sorry, you're not a bitch. Just kidding. Yes, you are. But the fact that you almost can't tell a difference between a church service and a famous celebrity's concert, I think is a very bad sign. I feel like this is all in an attempt to get more people to come into church. I'm sure there's a lot less people physically going into church every Sunday nowadays, and this is how some of them are trying to adapt. They think they need to make things louder and flashier. They think they need to have Master Chief. I still don't know why that was there, but to me personally, this has very much the opposite effect. This doesn't do anything except boast how much wealth some of these churches have, to the point that they're able to toss it into these pointless theatrics instead of actually helping people the way their religion teaches they should. And I don't know exactly what Jesus would do, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be this.
Yo, we're just gonna have to talk about this, because this is how we end up at this problem. This is it right here, where we go, no, the real Jesus was humanist. He wanted you to help the poor. He wanted you to build free housing. He wanted you to do medicine. He didn't really want any of that. And matter of fact, I'm gonna go there. Remember, this is just my opinion, but yeah, I'm going there. Even the healing was BS, because he didn't actually heal. He only healed to show his powers of healing. He didn't actually, that man should, why didn't he heal everybody? Why didn't he just snap his fingers, do the God thing, and give us actual cures? No, instead he was like, look how much I could heal everybody. Boom, I'm gonna just heal one person right there. And then go home walking past all the other crippled people that he walked past on his way home that day. Like, no. And I'm sorry, if Jesus couldn't say anything about the oppression of women, slavery, what was the LGBTQ stuff? No, we just have to accept Jesus sounded like a prophetic nut job who, if he, you don't even think he existed, but if he did exist,
no, I don't think he did.
It's like failed apocalyptic preacher. That's what we're talking about. He was not the prototype of a humanist. I can't even name any, because like all of the people we typically think of as being heroic people are problematic themselves. But it just irritates me.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead. I'm sorry not to get us sidetracked. Go ahead.
I wouldn't be me if I didn't if I didn't give Christians their credit. I wouldn't be me. Matthew 12:15-16. But when Jesus knew it, he withdrew from thence, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all, and charged them that they should not make him known. So there is an instance where there was a mass healing, and not just a guy or a lady.
Yeah, but I'm still not impressed. It's still for his own glory. I mean, thanks for the correction. So he did a mass, but he still didn't heal in mass. He didn't do the thing a God should have done, and he just didn't. Like, even the thing with the lady, like the woman caught in adultery, he never condemns what's actually happening. He never condemns her. Like, it's
he doesn't take up a stone and stone her, as the Torah says he should. The Torah says he should have been there stoning her too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's not calling out the bigger problems. Like, it just bothers me that we do that. We do this work for people. We want the mask, we want the fake thing to be true, So we'll go there for them. We'll create the humanist Jesus. That way we can pretend that it's the humanist Jesus that Christians actually believe in.
Yeah, and
So
it's
then we
not.
can
I think for
call
most,
Christians to be the humanists they're not.
I think for most Christians, they have their own version of who God is. They have their own version of who Jesus is. Most people who've read the entire Bible, well, not the atheists that have, but the ones that are still Christians and they read the entire Bible, they also still have their very own version of God. If they've understood what they've read fairly well, they know there's some horrible portions that are really hard to take. And if they stayed faithful, my hat's off to them, because I'm not signing up for that. I'm not worshiping a God who's that
Yeah,
way.
there's something
But
wrong
maybe
with
they can.
them. They're very different, and I'll tell you who they are.
Well, they're obedient.
They're also people who they did not read. They did not read well, right? There are different ways to read. It's like something I used to tell students: hey, you can't read your biology textbook like you're reading a novel. It doesn't work the same. You're not going to absorb the information. You have to read it actively. You have to check in and make sure you understand things. You have to take notes. You have to read it very differently. And to me, a lot of people who quote unquote read the Bible, they read it like a chore. They read it to say that they've read it. And because it's a problem. Like, I have people in my family like this. Like, when I confront them with stuff that's in the Bible, first off, clearly they don't know it's in there. But they all claim that they're actively reading their Bible. So I think a lot of them are actually just lying about it, to be honest with you.
That could be.
I think there's a whole nother group that's only reading, safe reading. They're only reading what's in the pastor's sermon series, or they're only reading what's in their devotionals. And then there's a whole bunch of other people who are actually reading it cover to cover, or reading it more in depth. And again, they're just reading it. Like, they just read it and they don't actually sit there and think about what they just read.
Exactly. Let me process what I just read.
Yeah, no, it's more, wow, I need to say I've read it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I just read a section that told me that a little girl, I could sell my daughter for 50% of what I could sell my son for. Why the heck is this in here? Right? That's the question that often doesn't get asked. It gets glazed over. Wow, a person can become a slave for life. Wow, if a guy takes somebody on as a slave and gives him a wife, he owns the children and the wife forever, but the initial slave can go free. Why is this in here? How did a God ordain this? Wow, these people of this land were chased out by wasps, but these other people over here were slaughtered in a brutal war because God wanted this group to have the land. It doesn't sink in that these things are evil, right? Excuse me.
Yeah.
And there are those people who would look at me and say, I'm wrong for calling them evil. And then there's the Frank Tureks. By what standard do you call them evil? Hey, Mr. Turek, my answer is simple. By a better standard. That's where I come from. But still, he'll fold his arms and keep talking like I'm wrong.
Yeah,
right?
and that's,
Guys like
and
that
that's
do that.
where, but honestly, that's most Christians. Listen, I hate to break it to y'all, but everybody in your life that's a Christian would defend Christianity. The only reason they don't defend Christianity to you is because you probably don't actually talk to them about it. But if you did, they would defend it. And in defending it, they would have to resort to apologetics because there's nothing else. So now they're either going to resort to the apologetics they read in books, that they saw online, or that they get from their pastor in the pulpit. And so Yo Nana might hit you with the, if there is no God, what's wrong with slavery? I'm just trying to make you prepared.
Well,
I'm just trying to prepare you, because that might happen if you actually try to have that conversation.
Well, let me give you the other side of that for those who are going to be confronted with that. Well, you're telling me that there is one, and look how he handles it. Rather than abolishing it, he sanctions it wholeheartedly and gives rules that literally up the ante and make it worse. Isn't that bad? Well, it was a different time then. I don't care. If you are the creator of the entire universe, you ought to be able to come up with better solutions than me. But we can show time and again in the Bible, no, this isn't the work of a committee about how to make the world a better place. This is the work of people who said, how do we make people do what we want? That's really what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the best ways to control people? And when somebody couldn't think of the best way because centuries later, years later, somebody came along and asked a really good question, then the apologist sits down and writes a story that explains why God was right the whole time.
And see, there's another thing too, AR, is like a lot of religious folks really struggle to be interested in any real academic discipline because history doesn't really coincide with your stuff. Science certainly doesn't. Real actual philosophy doesn't. Philosophy is supposed to help people think more clearly. They only use philosophy to confuse people. So it's hard. And so I see this all the time where there's a real there's a lack of people who will even pursue education in those areas. And two, when they do, they tend not to pursue it for the right reasons. In other words, like if somebody's in, say, a biology program and they're Christian, they're more likely to be there for like a career. They're like career minded. They're there for a career, maybe in agriculture, but more than likely, like a biomedical field, and they're not learning or even trying to absorb biology to understand the natural world. They're trying to get good grades in biology classes so they can get into med school. And so they're literally trying to go through all of these classes without ever having to think deeply about these things. That's why some of those students don't like my classes, because you have to, because I'm gonna focus on, evolution and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a problem. People don't acknowledge the way that this stuff really makes people avoid education, and even when they don't avoid education, they kind of do it for the wrong reasons and then do it the wrong way. And it's a problem, because then I used to tell my students this: you end up with stuff like you end up with biology professors who don't believe in evolution, and that's a true story.
It's me, the Lord, and I want you to follow me. I am Halo reaching for you so that I can give you my love.
Yes, sir.
Which is Halo Infinite. All I want is to be there, Halo for you. And you never have to be afraid, because I will fight your Halo wars. Together we will be unstoppable, because I am the Master Chief of
there it is.
The universe.
God is the Master Chief.
This is my second video in a row that ends with the Halo theme song. I'm gonna call it there, guys. Thank you for subscribing, and if you are still here, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you clicking on my video out of all the videos that are on here, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.
All right, good times. That is Chad. Definitely go do all the good YouTube things, the likes and the comments and the subs. Yeah, I thought that was a fun way of a fun perspective on it. They are cringe. They are super cringy. But yeah, and there's also a way. They're very white. I mean, sometimes you go to these places and there's no seasoning, there's no pepper, there's nothing. There's just white folks, Sometimes it's like you go to one of these mega churches and there's thousands of people that go to this church, and there's like one, maybe two. There's literally like a black family, a Hispanic family. It's terrible. Now look, I don't want to. Yeah, and the drummer a lot of times. I don't want to let the church, just me. It's the church. I've been as my church. It was just me and one black family. I don't want to let people of color off the hook, like, because black folk have mega churches with the same problems, and the TD Jakeses and Creflo Dollars and all of these people.
Yeah.
And Hispanic people do too. But there's even a way in which those churches like model themselves after like the, sort of the dominant white mega church culture. But yeah, that's kind of the whole thing with the tanks and the Master Chief and the boxing and all of this, and the guns and the monster trucks, right? It is very overtly like appealing largely to white men. Now, obviously, you have like the women's conferences, and that's a different flavor. But again, it's still appealing to that white evangelical conservative base. And so, the tie-in for me, y'all, is this is how we got here, and I have to face this myself, which is the ugly truth that this is the problems we face, largely thinking about America and so many of the struggles we're dealing with, from dropping bombs on Iran to paying for Israel's bombs to having a Democratic Party that is tanking the one candidate for mayor of a major city that's actually trying to make people's lives better and just more affordable, like the open hostility towards voters, the big beautiful bill, Trump, all of this is stuff that in some sense white American Christians have fraught upon us. The mass deportations, right? This is stuff that they voted for largely as people in power, I would say on both sides, on conservatives and the Republicans and the Democrats. Everybody bent over backwards to appeal to these people. The right, MAGA, like that's their base. And the left was like, hey, let's go on tour with Liz Cheney and talk about our guns and how great our military is. And this is what these people want. This is what they voted for. They are pro-Israel. They are pro-mass deportation. When I see videos of mass deportation, when I see videos of like ICE going in and like dragging people out of immigration court of all places, and people throwing themselves in front of vehicles, you go into the comment section expecting people to really be disgusted with America, and you do see that at times, but so often you see the cheerleading, the people that are excited about this. So it's tough for me, but it's like this is what happens if America gets its way. Even like when for instance, like they just did a CPAC thing and or Turning Points, one of them, and I think the Secretary of Defense, or the Border Czar, I guess is the title that they call him, was there giving a speech. Before he starts speaking, everyone is just chanting USA, 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 and unless you've just been living under a rock, there's a way that that is a massive crowd of white people cheering for the establishment of essentially America as a white Christian ethno-state. You'd have to be a fool to not understand that's that crowd. That's what all of this means to them. That's what those USA chants are about. And there's a reason they are so frothing at the mouth to celebrate the work of the Border Czar, who again is overseeing mass deportation and people being kidnapped off our streets by masked contractors. So it's for me, it's like I don't know. It's like time to stop playing with Christianity. It's just like it's all very gross. I'm grossed out by all of it. I don't understand why people still think it's cute, but yeah, we're trying to build some momentum in pushing back against it. Go ahead, my one black friend. I'm ranting.
I think Christianity might be the key. I said it a few moments ago, and I wasn't joking when I said it, that when you look at books like the Bible, they are designed to control people. Well, if you have a population that are wholly unaware of what's in the book that they say that they are patterning their life after, and what they do know has been spoon-fed to them, you get the spoon out and you start spoon feeding them the stuff that's going to make them into who you need them to be, to actually make the nation better, to actually make people more loving, more accepting, to take Jesus's words of looking after the stranger, because Israel was once strangers after they left Egypt, that sort of thing. If that's how you want the nation to be, rather than one where people are scared of foreigners and wrathful and hate poor people, even though a large number of them are poor, and keep them basically misinformed and filled with hate, that part clearly worked. But to spoon feed them the good stuff that's in there, there's not enough of that. There's not that programming taking place for that same crowd that's angry. We see people like the Good Liars and Walter Masterson. They'll tell people what's actually in the Bible, and they look rather surprised. They look shocked. It's this behavior is atrocious when it's in the Quran, but it's in the Bible? Well, that's okay. Just like this behavior is atrocious when Joe Biden did it. Oh, you just said Trump did it? Well, then that's all right. I can justify that to myself that that's true. We're dealing with people who, on some level, will be okay reformatting their lives. We just have to let them know, like, you probably didn't really want to believe in the wrong things. You probably didn't really want to support the wrong things. So let's familiarize you with the good things.
They can do that on their own time if they're interested. I just don't even think they're worth the effort. I don't think they're worth the effort anymore. They're too far gone, and I think they're bad people. I think
there are some bad people. I don't think most people are too far gone.
But most of them, I'd say most people know that the Bible endorses slavery. Most people know that in the Bible, God commands them to take other people's land by force, and they know what that means, and they do know that there's even passages about what to do with the women and children, and they're aware of that. Now they might feign horror and shock or some kind of ignorance, but I think they do know, and they very much have the and they will very much go with the, well, God commanded it or part of his divine plan. Again, they will tell us the horrible thing to our face. I just think most of us are not willing. It's the mask. Look, the mask is very attractive, and the mask works for both people. The mask works for them because it allows them to pretend to be a decent person and to keep being reinforced in their identity that they don't want to change, because that's what this is really about. It's really about Christians just want to be Christians, and they don't want to be challenged in their Christianity. And it works for us because we don't want to face the ugliness of who they really are as a person and the lack of character that they're demonstrating. And for to buy the mask, they're just misguided, they just don't understand, they just haven't read the book, they just, because then we don't have to deal with it either. But I think the truth is, if they were, it's like Uncle Bobby says about Trump supporters. If they were reasonable people, they wouldn't be Trump supporters. If you could easily reason with them, if they were rational people who you could just have an intelligent conversation with them and they do the rational thing, we wouldn't even be having a conversation about there being Trump supporters or Donald Trump political career for us to support. But we're in the situation that we're in because, again, this is what these people really wanted. Go back just before the Trump election. There was an alarming number, like a strong script. I'm going to just call it what it is. It was a script that many conservatives had adopted, which was that they supported Trump and they supported the Republican Party largely due to their faith. They would say that like flat out, and then we'd sit there and try to find a policy thing where they just told you flat out. And that's always, people have always been that way. It's always been, I'm religious and da 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 da. Now, and then you would go and we could talk about policies, and a lot of them would say, you know, maybe if you're talking to like a right-wing Catholic or something, they talk about abortion or something like that, which again, people don't want to recognize the way that was always a race, like a Christo-fascist racist thing. That was always about getting the support for racist policies by getting, you know, originally, you know, Catholics on board with a conservative agenda that they wouldn't support otherwise. But a lot of these people really said immigration. So people would tell you, I associate with this party because of my faith, and then they would try to also smuggle in, but I support Trump's policies. And then when we literally would say, what policies? For many of them, the very first thing would be immigration. Why? Because Trump promised them mass deportation, and they wanted to show us that that's what they supported. Now, that's what we're doing, and they're again passing a big beautiful bill to give billions of dollars to ICE so we can have ICE everywhere, and then we're gonna act like no, they didn't really want to deport their immigrant neighbors. That's not who no, that is who they are. And in the same way Trump promised to their same anti-LGBTQ stuff they've always had. People won't shut up about it. I mean, it was just say, how many times can you say trans? Say trans enough time, and we can do fascism. And then people came to the left and threatened us and said, y'all are too woke. If you won't shut up about, you wouldn't shut up about woke. So that's why we had to do fascism. So it's just time to say, okay, if these were people who were we could actually sit down and say, I'm sorry, but there's no evidence to support your faith, and then have them or do whatever you think the best practice is. Do the whole, you know, explain to them that you want them to give you the best reason they have for faith. That way, if that doesn't hold up, well, it was their best reason, and then give them another 3 or 4 anyway. And then also draw their attention to all of the terrible things that are happening in the name of Christianity. Look, I think we all know it's just not going to matter. That person is going to. Some of them will even be honest enough to tell you. I would hope that if, you know, I really became convinced that there wasn't any evidence to support my faith, that I'd find a way to believe it anyway. I mean,
some people would say that.
I think most people would say that. I think if they wouldn't say that, you would have already had that conversation with them. At least for most of us, because most of us are very intelligent people. We have a very articulate understanding of the arguments, the issues, the evidence or lack thereof. We are the best people on the planet to have those conversations with. And if you're talking about people that are our family and friends, you're talking about people that know that about us and are willing to have meaningful conversations with us about anything under the sun, because they trust us and we have that rapport with them. But we won't have these conversations with them. Why? Those of us that have tried will tell you why. Because there's a part of you that already knows they're not reasonable people when it comes to these things. And those of us that have tried, we have learned that the hard way, that yes, in fact, when we had those conversations with them, they did not go well, because they are not reasonable people when it comes to when it comes to their faith or when it comes to their politics. And so at some point it's just, you just leave it alone. It is what you do when you realize you're dealing with someone who's masking, because you have to recognize that it's a deeply manipulative thing, and even trying to reconcile it with them will always result in more manipulation. So eventually you just act in spite of them. And I think that's what we lack the courage to do on sort of both sides. I think the reality is they fear not being the center of attention. They fear the world just moving on without them and deciding we don't care anymore. Yeah, that we're just not interested. But on the same side, but on the other side, it's like we really do. It's like an emotional thing. I think largely because of the way we were raised and the communities that we developed in. It's like this fear that like we can't do it without them. That like we have, and I get that they seem to dominate our lives in a way that makes that feeling very vivid. But for me, we just don't have. We can't keep holding up for them, and there's too much really bad things happening for us to even like wait anymore. It's like, look, if you can't see that there's really no good reason to buy this stuff, and you also can't see all the terrible things that are happening in the world as a result, I don't know what to say to you right now. You know what I mean? It's like I don't even. That's what I mean when I say too far gone. It's just like, people are hurting, and I think they need our help more than the people that are wrong continue to need our attention. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's tough. It's a tough game. Republicans have an empathy problem. Yeah, they do, and
there's a problem with empathy. But they want it for them. They don't want it for other people. That's the shame of it all.
Yeah, and that's just selfishness. They recognize. I'll give you guys a weird one that I was thinking about. So gaming spaces, a lot of games are dominated by white men. And it's really funny. I was reflecting on how vocal player bases are when they're not happy about something in the game. Mm-hmm. Specifically, if it's a monetary issue, loot boxes, a game being perceived as too pay to win, there being some sort of feature or special ability that's locked behind a paywall. The outrage will be immediate and insane, like bad review bombing, calling for boycotts, calling out content creators. Content creators themselves will be losing their minds, blowing up the discords and the social medias of the developer. Like it's like an all out assault on this company for effectively doing what companies do, which is try to make money off their games. But I thought about that and I said, it's so amazing but that shows you that shows you privilege and entitlement in action. When it's something that affects y'all, even though it's something most people would not even consider a real world problem. Like, I don't care that you have to drop $10 for some jetpack in a shooting game. Like, I literally can't think of a thing that's less of a problem in the world, but they will literally be out there demanding boycotts. But turn around and people say, like, I don't want my tax money going to pay for bombs that are dropped on hospitals in the Middle East. that's too woke. That's crazy. Like, why are you politicizing everything?
Well,
Like,
it's not the same group of people necessarily, Pocket Locker.
but a
There's
lot of these are the same people.
There's plenty of 65-year-old men, 65-year-old Caucasian males that don't play video games, but they'll be out there on the streets.
But my point is they're gonna show that same level of sensitivity when it affects them. Like, you saw that with the veterans. You saw that where, again, Trump was getting the mass deportations as promised. We got the cancelization of everything related to DEI as promised. We got the war on LGBTQ people as promised. We got the war on the working class as promised. But all of a sudden, when Trump went after those veterans hospitals, all of a sudden those older white 65 males all of a sudden had their camouflage hats on, and all of a sudden they're on MSNBC telling everybody, oh my God, like, you know, everybody's hair should be on fire. Look at what Trump is doing to veterans. So my point is not necessarily to confine it to the video game space. That was just where I saw it as an example, but to say that everybody, to your point, everybody does recognize when there's policy changes that hurt you, that hurt your economy, that hurt your bottom line, that hurt you as a consumer, that hurt you as an individual. And for these people who have a lot of privilege, even if it's something in their entertainment or their recreational lives, they understand activism then. But when it's something that really affects marginalized people, even to that being the point of these people's ability to live safely or provide a life for themselves, get an education, hold a job, you know, they don't understand why people are upset. And it does show that they lack empathy. They understand when their needs are not being met, but they're not able to put themselves in the shoes of less fortunate people. And a lot of times, again, there's that open hostility. And that's what we see. That's what we see. We see you should have known from jump. You should have known from the beginning that this person didn't have your best interest in mind. It was very clear to all of us that this person didn't have your best interest in mind. But when you thought they were going to hurt us but not hurt you, you didn't care. You didn't even bother to think through how all the things that they were going to do to hurt us were going to affect you. Because had you thought through it, you would have seen then that it wasn't going to work out well for you. But you were so motivated, so gleeful even to put others in their place. Now you're seeing the results.
Now it's your turn.
Now it's your turn.
Yeah. Now it's your turn. Every face shall be stepped on. Just wait your turn. Yeah, I think that is something that's lost on people. But again, it's one of the weird aspects of being a human being that isn't truly compassionate. It's when, as long as it's affecting other people and it doesn't ever come to my door, right? It doesn't ever come to my house. I'll cheer it on. I'll cheer on they want to cheer on the hatred. They want to cheer on the discord. They want to do that. But when it comes home to them, well, now there's a problem. I didn't know it was going to be me. Wouldn't it be lovely if they had that perspective from the beginning? Like, wait a second, maybe there's another way that we can achieve certain things where people aren't hurt, or it does the most good and the least harm. Because there is. And it doesn't mean that you make everything free or give everything away. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't mean you kick everybody out. You do have to think about things and not simply just see what sticks, right? Throw the ketchup against the wall and see what sticks. It's not that simple. If you're smart enough to know it's not that simple and you can be patient, you're going to have really great solutions. If you're not either of those things, you're going to have one disaster after another. And then one day the disaster comes to your door and you lose your SNAP benefits. Well, you didn't think about that, and you lose your health benefits. You didn't think about that. The first wave of cuts the staffing for Medicare and Medicaid. The second wave reduces the funding. So see, for a little while, they can claim, oh no, he didn't cut benefits. He didn't cut benefits. When you cut the staffing, you do cut the benefits because they're slower rollouts. Then you come back and hack off more.
Well,
And then
that's
you
why
come
people,
back
to
and
me, you got to
hack off more.
reimagine the entire social contract, because the contract based on work didn't work out. First off, not everybody has work, but the way the economy gets tanked, work dries up. You know, if you're a scientist, they cut all the money for grants and all our programs are getting slashed. But also they're tanking the economy. So you have tariffs, you have all this other stuff going on that hurts businesses. They have to lay off employees, or they can't hire people, or they can't open places, or they can't give people raises. So then you always, for the longest time, we had stuff shifting towards the gig economy, which was less and less stability, less and less benefits, really not having full-time work, but really people couldn't make ends meet. So many people have been doing a full-time job, then either a second job or something in the gig economy just to help make ends meet, still not being able to quite make ends meet, and then still needing Medicare or SNAP or something like that to offset things, especially if you have a family. So recognize that the social contract is not going to be fulfilled. To me, I would rather reimagine it in a way where we're thinking beyond the dependence on work, we're thinking beyond that, because if we don't, then it's going to happen anyway, but it's going to happen when we can't find work. Work's been taken from us. Our work has been devalued. And there may be a lot of people who actually end up still feeling like wage slaves. So I don't know. To me, it's like, things are bad, and they're particularly bad. Like when I see right now, like I see the Democratic Party really more concerned about the left, more concerned about stopping progressives than they are about stopping conservatives and fascists. I mean, we have a situation where the people in power are openly hostile to the interest of their constituents. So you know, it's I'm finding it hard to not become more radicalized in times like these.
That's what happened to them. They've become more radicalized. Things have to be absolute. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But let's have a carve out for my group so that we can remain special, right? We hear about it. All these cuts are taking place so that billionaires can get a tax cut. The people who don't need it. I'm not saying that their creativity and ability to make money shouldn't be rewarded by, not taxing the crap out of them. Yeah, let's not tax the crap out of them. But at the same time, if the people who help make them billionaires, i.e. their employees that work for minimum wage and such like that, if they're suffering, then that billionaire is suffering too. In a different way. They don't realize it.
Not if that happen. I absolutely think we need to tax the crap out of them.
It's how you do it. It has to still be worth it for them. You have to still make it worth it. I know you don't think so. I know you don't think so.
I think it will be. I think above a certain level, I think it will be, in terms of the resources generated for other people, the social prestige that comes with being that person, and there's a lot of ways to recognize it. But if you're telling me, there's going to be too high of a tax rate and people are not going to be motivated to be billionaires, I don't think there should be billionaires. So I just don't care if you're not. I just think if everybody would understand that we live in a system, everybody, the floor is high enough for everybody. Sorry, yeah, the floor is high enough for everybody. There is nobody who's homeless. There's nobody who doesn't have a universal basic income. If you want to work more than that, or you're teaching, you're arting, you're crafting, you're starting a service, whatever, that's fine. You can make more money, and then there gets to be a certain point where above a certain income, yeah, you're gonna be taxed heavily so that people are not hoarding wealth. And if people are not going to voluntarily redistribute wealth, which no human society should be foolish enough to trust people to do, I think it's the job of government to forcefully redistribute wealth, because again, otherwise we're tolerating some people suffering while others hoard the resources necessary to end that suffering, and putting the needs and considerations of the hoarders above the people who are suffering. I'm going to redistribute the wealth. If it's redistributing that wealth is going to be so popular, even amongst the truly wealthy people, that if some, like it's like the business owners who are threatening Zoran Mamdani, going, oh well, if he does this or he does that, or he starts a city grocery store, I'm leaving the city. If he does this, if he freezes the rent increases, then I'm taking my business outside of New York City. First off,
yes, you're going to sell your property and move away,
bluffing. Yeah, exactly. First off, most of y'all are bluffing.
How terrible.
And second of all, I'm calling your bluff, because I honestly don't. You're not the type of person. You're the problem. Like I said, like at that point, you're the problem. So go ahead and leave. We're gonna create this other like thriving economy, and honestly, it's just gonna be so much more popular. So most of these people, I think, are just shooting themselves in the foot, because again, they just. Part of it is they lack imagination, but then again is that other part. They lack the empathy, they lack the emotional connection to the experience of other human beings to really understand just how amazing and rewarding that would feel. They don't understand that most of us don't make enough money that if we actually redistributed the wealth, we would make less money. So in other words, people need to be clear about that, right? Because when people talk about redistributing wealth or, socialism and stuff like that, everybody imagines, oh, I'm going to be asked to live off $25,000 a year. First off, that's not the case. But second off, that wouldn't be so bad if you didn't have to pay for your housing, if you had free transportation, if you had price control on groceries and so many things we need. So people have to remember, like, when you dramatically change the cost of living, it's in that. And again, y'all, I'm not telling you anything that's not evidenced with the way things are now, right? People know if you live in certain parts of the world, there are certain parts of the country where I can live comfortably as a PhD and it'll be reflected, right? There'll be salaries for professors who make $50,000 to $60,000 because they expect you to be able to live in some of these rural places or different parts of the country. And that's a comfortable middle class living. Okay,
you don't have a $2 million house.
Yeah, I currently live, in New Jersey, but I'm 12, 15 miles outside of Manhattan. Okay, everything is super expensive here. That same $60,000 is not going to be sufficient for you to feel like you have a decent way of life. So we already know that dramatically changing the cost of living and what people have expenses for, and even rich people know that, right? They take compensation packages where companies say, well, we're giving you a company car, so we're not going to give you this, this extra salary you asked for, but we're giving you a company car. We're not going to give you this, but we have housing, and you get all these travel perks, and you have this really high per diem, and people. So perks and bennies, right? Everybody knows that perks and bennies can change what you're willing to take in compensation, right?
Right.
So we're just kind of extending that. And most people, if we really got rid of billionaires and we really did have a redistribution of wealth, most of us would make more money than we make now with that universal basic income, and we certainly keep more. Yeah.
Just to, I want to comment on this. I need to get going, but I want to
sure, yeah.
So I am currently in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My home is in Los Angeles, California. People have asked me to compare the two, like, oh, it must be so much cheaper living in Fort Wayne. No, it is and it isn't. So at the grocery store, it's probably a bit more expensive here, in my experience, for everything but corn. As I said to my best friend's mom, they could give corn away and still make money. They produce so much of it here. But when it comes to like a home, yes, homes are significantly cheaper depending on the kind of lifestyle you want to have. I could buy a home here in Fort Wayne for $50,000 or $60,000. The kind of like level of quality that I want and like where I want it, I'm more in the $250,000 to $550,000 range for the stuff I like. The stuff I would, if I had unlimited funds, it's probably I could build it here, probably around $750,000, $850,000. Utility though, we get screwed in California. We get screwed. They amortize, some people and friends, they amortize their gas bill or their electric bill. So they're paying like $109 a month. So in winter, you spend a lot of money heating your home with gas. In summer, you don't. It's $20, $30 for my bill in California. That's just paying for cooking and hot water, basically. That's it. My water bill's over $70 there. My neighbor who waters a lot less than I do, her bill's $50. My mom's bill here was like $7 or $20, maybe it's $20. I forget what she told me, but it's dramatically lower. And yes, it rains here, and she has a really pretty lawn. Her electric bill, I asked some coworkers that. My electric bill, the last one, was $411. The bill here for some of my coworkers, about $130 for like a 5-bedroom home where they're running the air conditioning. It's awful. Gas, I don't know what gas is in LA right now. I bet you it's about $5.20. Gas is $3 here. Or if you're willing to shop around, you might pay $2.89. There's no reason I can think of why it's more expensive in Los Angeles, other than they got you. So you can make a choice to live somewhere else, as Pocket Locker has stated, where the costs are more to your liking. And you do have to ask yourself the question, how comfortable do I want to be? And how hard do I have to work for that? Because at a certain level of working real hard, you're not comfortable anymore. And you got to have the courage to say, this isn't worth it. With me in California, after having 2 bad years, it's not worth it.
But why work? That's the thing. I just don't.
Why work? What do you mean, why work?
Why
like
work?
Have a job?
Yeah. Why work? Why? I literally just think it is cruel to me to live in a world where there's enough resources to go around. But it's just
who's going to create those resources? We don't have robots doing it. Robots don't do everything. I go by these beautiful, massive cornfields where it's just quarter mile after quarter mile after quarter mile.
That's the thing. It's coming.
The robots don't harvest. The robots don't harvest any of that stuff.
They will.
Some of the machinery is pretty sophisticated.
They will, and they're gonna. And that's what I mean. They're gonna put most of us out of work. So it's. I say we get ahead of the curve. And it's just, and again, it's just me. It's just a value.
Somebody has to do the work.
I just think it's cruel. I think life is short. It's already harsh. There's already disease coming. And if you look at the natural state, even of the most closely related primates, this capitalism thing that's created this system where it is to me on a continuum with slavery. Like it is, we still live in a system where you have to give up your body to trade your labor for the ability to have food, water, clothing, and shelter. And I just think that is, we should if it's possible to evolve a different social contract where the value of a human being was determined simply by being a human being, I just think we owe it to the future of our species to do so, because it sucks. It sucks to say, and because also think about how bad the contract is. Most of us, again, most laborers are gonna be poor urban or rural workers. The contract for them is work real hard, underprivileged, under-resourced, maybe have to work multiple jobs, still don't have enough to get by. Meanwhile, there's billionaires, they don't really do any work. Maybe they work a day or two a week, but at this point they have money making money, and people who inherit money, who have their money making money, and they don't work. And then there's a whole bunch of us trying to find somebody to come. There's a whole bunch of us who still would like, you know, love to find a partner or a spouse, just because the economy is so hard just to even do something basic like, you know, have a home and a decent way of life. We're like forced to now look for a second income in the household. And I'm just talking about the incredibly privileged folks in the most wealthiest country in the world. Think about the contract for those people in the global south, where, you know, people are working extraordinarily hard under extraordinary conditions that most of us would find inhumane to, like, I would find it inhumane to just be outdoors in that heat, to have to like walk to the market to get some orange juice, nevertheless having to like work out in that heat doing physically demanding work for 12 hours a day, and then coming home and like being happy if I have like some lentils and some pita to like feed my family. I mean, to me it's almost inhumane at some point. And I just think the resources are there for us to really say, like, do we want it to continue to be that way? I know we gotta go. Also, I just want to say, PC, I don't know why Corey is taking pictures of Bibi Netanyahu. Bibi Netanyahu needs to be arrested. I think there's a lot of these Democrats that are literally throwing their careers away over Israel. I wish I could stop them, but unfortunately I can't. And you know, I hope there's somebody close to them that's trying to tell them what a mistake this is. I certainly would be, but you know, as these people go through with these things, it's who they are. You know, it's not a secret for most of these people that AIPAC is a huge donor for them, one of their primary donors, or that other, you know, related interests are. So to me, they're kind of telling on themselves, and the consequences for their careers might be severe. But hey, there's kind of a self-inflicted wound at that point. Yeah, I guess Bibi Netanyahu's here, or he's coming here, and so you know, everybody's taking photos with him. I'd be asking somebody to put him in handcuffs, but
that'd be nice.
It'd be nice. Listen, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Y'all are all YouTube professionals, so you know, do the buttons, like, comment, subscribe, and definitely share if you think anybody else, you know, anybody that would enjoy the content. Thanks to all the mods for keeping things under control, and thanks to everybody that's been in the chat. And if you watch later, go ahead and leave us a comment. We really appreciate that. And yeah. Thanks to everybody for watching and for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. As always, be good to yourselves
and each other.
All right, gang. Said I'm gone.